there's both internal pressure and external pressure, right? So internally, I always sort of said, how do you control the internal? So that's the pressure you put on yourself. And how do we do that? So me personally, it was like my mantra was, when I took this job, was everything I've experienced to this point has prepared me for this moment. Meaning, I've coached games, we've lost games, we've done halftime talks, we've dealt with injuries. You've done that, but now you're just doing it with a much bigger lens. So remind yourself that you have these experiences to lean on. The other thing that I felt in terms of internally managing pressure was tuning out the noise. People used to say to me, Jill, you're not on Twitter, you're worried about the criticism. I said, I don't need to read how well or poorly my team played. I had a front row seat. I don't really give a crap about someone in their basement who doesn't understand my environment. If it's not someone whose opinion I would seek, I'm not going to worry about their opinion. So those were ways for me to kind of manage the expectation and the pressure. And so with my team, in terms of how did we deal with pressure, the environment we created, every day they knew that they had to bring their best and bring their edge. And I remember we were in the quarterfinals of the 19 World Cup. We were about to play France. France was the host country. They'd beaten us earlier in the year in a friendly 3-1, I think it was. And this French reporter, I won't do the accent, I would butcher it.
Wait.
This reporter said to me, well, Jill, you're about to play the host country. You're going to play in front of 55,000 French fans. There's, so much pressure on you. He's going on and on and on. And I looked back and I said, our players live in pressure every day. My opponent's going to visit it for 90 minutes. And that was the message of we constantly, because of the environment we have, because of what we establish as our culture, we are well-versed in pressure. The standards that you have internally are probably higher than most, right? The standards and expectations you have of yourself are probably much higher. So we don't need to go out and play France and feel pressure. We understand that living in pressure is certainly a privilege. I remember when I was at UCLA, so John Wooden was around. He was obviously very old, but he was around and you got to spend time with him. And I remember saying to Coach Wooden, man, how did you manage the pressure and the expectation? And he said, my dear, when there's expectation, it's a privilege. This is back in the day. He said, it's a privilege that people now have an expectation of you. You've earned that, lean into that kind of thing. And it was this idea of don't shy away from pressure. It is something that you've earned the right to live in that space and have the target on your back. So let that reinforce you, so to speak.
Awesome.